and welcome. We're Kat and Floyd, and this is the Church Tourists.
Hi guys, before we start the video, we just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who watched our last video. Everyone who liked, subscribed, commented, shared the video. Thank you all so much. Oh, and those who
Followed on
follow
Instagram.
Instagram, yeah. Thank you very much, it really means a lot to both of us.
Yeah.
So here today, we are at Malmesbury Abbey in Wiltshire.
The town of Malmesbury itself has always been quite important throughout history. It was supposedly the first capital of England. It's been the home of some very important people, such as the first Saint of Wessex, Saint Elhelm, and also the first King of England,
King Athelstan.
King Athelstan the Glorious.
If you're wondering what the difference is between an abbey and a church, an abbey is a place of residence and learning for monks, and obviously a church is a place of religious worship and service.
The site where Malmesbury Abbey stands today was first used in the 7th century by an Irish monk who set up a hermitage because he wanted to teach the local children. Unfortunately, not long after he did that, the whole area, Malmesbury area, was conquered by the Saxons, as they do. And they, of course, did not want the monk to be teaching the children about Christianity, so they put an end to that.
Towards the end of the 7th century, however, in 676, the area was refounded by Saint Aldhelm, who was a scholar poet and nephew of the then King of Wessex. And he turned the area into a Benedictine monastery. And over the centuries, as the site grew, both in size and in the number of people coming, it turned into Malmesbury Abbey in 1180.
In the 200 years following 1180, a tower was added to the abbey. 100 years after that was then a spire, and at the time when the spire was made, it was the tallest building in all of England. Unfortunately, both the tower and the spire fell in the late 15th century and took with it over half of the abbey, so what is left standing now is only the nave of the abbey of the church, and the majority of it is gone.
You might be wondering why we've included an abbey on this channel, seeing as we're called the Church Tourists. But there is a good reason for that, and it's because Malmesbury Abbey today serves its local community as the parish church, and it does everything you would expect a parish church to do. It does Sunday services, Christmas services, although the Sunday services are currently sort of on hold. I think on their website they say they're going to resume them in September. You can still come down for private prayer during the day.
Monday to Saturday, their private prayers. And speaking of their website, when you go in and you look, they have a fantastic little catchphrase that says 12th century beauty, 21st century church, which I think that's just really lovely.
That's a really nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
There are some really interesting stories associated with Malmesbury Abbey that we'll be telling you today, including the first attempt at human flight, which is really bizarre. A story involving a tiger and a barmaid. And there are some really interesting artifacts here which we'll hopefully be able to show you, including the memorial to King Athelstan, Henry VII's crest. There's a 15th century illuminated Bible as well, which is quite famous, so hopefully we'll be able to show you all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So let's go. Let's go
Okay,
inside.
let's go.
Put your mask on.
In the following clips inside the church, we've chosen to do voiceovers because they were playing some lovely music in the abbey, but it did make cutting the video together sound a bit weird. We noticed these pictures in the ceiling because they look like angels, and one of them kind of looks like Jesus.
Yeah. These carvings are actually called roof bosses, and you can find them in many different churches and cathedrals, and they're always placed where parts of the ceiling intersect. And what's nice about these ones is that the coloured paint is still there, because on a lot of roof bosses, it's been replaced with like a gold gilt paint. I felt like we had seen carvings like this somewhere else.
Definitely look like something I've seen before, and they're on top of each of these little archway things that are inside the abbey. We then noticed that they're also, like, underneath the little heads, there are these dogs, dragons, I don't know. We compared it to the dog from the Neverending Story.
Yeah, Falkor.
And just like him, they're super long, so they go all the way around.
All around the archway.
Archway, yeah. It's nice, I like it. I don't know, it's scary, but nice at the same time. We're still not entirely sure that this is actually the crest of Henry VII, but it does seem to fit. So it's supposed to have the Welsh dragon on the one side and the English lion on the other. And originally, Henry VII would then have had the Tudor rose at the bottom of his crest because he established the House of Tudor.
So this is the memorial of King Athelstan the Glorious. For those who might not know, Athelstan was the son of Edward the Elder and grandson of Alfred the Great. If you've ever seen The Last Kingdom, you'll know who Alfred the Great was. Athelstan carried on his grandfather's ambition and was able to unite England, and because of this he is considered by modern historians to be the first king of England. He was famous for his piety. He founded lots of monasteries throughout England and was considered a very generous, decent king. He was also the first king to introduce a common currency in the form of silver coins, which had his face on them. He died in the year 939 and was buried here at Malmesbury, but to this day the exact location of his body is still a mystery.
Fun fact for you, Malmesbury Abbey actually had the first ever church organ in all of England.
Really?
Yeah, it was built by St. Elhelm. The organ that stands today, however, is from 1984, and at the time it cost £71,000, which today is the equivalent to near enough £230,000.
Wow, that sure puts my guitar collection to shame.
They had 4 cabinets standing by the back wall filled with trinkets and artifacts recovered throughout the Abbey's history.
Yeah, and they had these tiles which would have originally decorated the floor of the Abbey. So we can imagine that back then, the place would have been really vibrant and colourful.
Yeah. They had this poster, which I thought was really cool. It's basically just a map over all the kings and queens dating all the way back from the Anglo-Saxons and the Normans and the Danes and everything. And I thought it was really cool that you can follow where everything has come from.
This is the 4-part illuminated Bible. Sometimes it's just called the Malmesbury Bible. It was made in the 15th century by monks in Belgium. And here in the Abbey it would have been read aloud for the monks to listen to during meal times. If you're wondering why it's called an illuminated Bible, it's because these illustrations and paintings you can see on the pages are called illuminations. It's a beautiful way of illustrating, but the way they did it was pretty bizarre, at least by modern standards. So most of the painting was done with powdered gold, egg whites, vegetable and animal extracts. However, to improve the colour and texture of the paintings, they included chalk, eggshells, white lead, honey, and here's where it gets a little gross. They also used stale urine and earwax.
That's amazing!
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with the end result though, can you? I mean, it's really cool, really beautiful.
We really like this particular window because the colours are so vibrant. It dates back to 1901, and the men here on these windows actually are depictions of real people. So on your left, you've got Faith, which was originally St. George. In the middle, you've then got Courage, which was originally King Ethelbert of Kent. And on your right is Devotion, who's a centurion.
So this is the backside. Backside? It's kind of the end. This is the end of where the abbey finishes now. And this is where the tower would have been. And then the spire on top of that. And the abbey would have then continued for as long as it is already. Twice as long. Down this way.
You can see where it's fallen away.
Yeah. Yeah. And the story of human flight is that the monk Elmer, at the time, he built himself a pair of wings, strapped them on his back, climbed to the top of this tower, bear in mind was tall, really tall, climbed all the way on the top there, jumped out, flew just over 200 meters before eventually falling and breaking both of his legs.
Now you say he flew 200 meters. Are you sure you don't mean he just fell 200 meters when he jumped off?
He flew 200 meters and fell and broke both of his legs. And when he was asked afterwards what he thought was the problem, he said that it was because he didn't have a tail.
Of course.
So
That makes total sense.
maybe he should have tried again. But then again, maybe he didn't want to break his legs one more time. Now you might be wondering why we're showing you this seemingly random gravestone. But this is the gravestone of Hannah Twinoy, who was a barmaid working at White Lion Public House, a place that had wild animals just for amusement for their guests. One of these wild animals was a tiger, which Hannah had been told time and time and time again to leave alone. But Hannah, being Hannah, couldn't leave this tiger alone. And one day, the tiger had enough. It escaped its cage, and that's why we've got this headstone here today. So Hannah died on October 23rd, 1703. And on the tombstone here it reads, "In bloom of life she snatched from hence. She had not room to make defence. For tiger fierce took life away, and here she lies in a bed of clay, until the resurrection day." There's a bit of mystery surrounding this whole story, mostly because we know that Hannah was, as said, a barmaid. We know her family weren't particularly well off, so we're not entirely sure who has paid for not only a poet, but also this fantastic, relatively large gravestone. There has been guesses that she might have had a rich lover. It might have been the community, because she was very loved by the community, obviously being a barmaid. They might have all...
Yeah, she might be known by everybody.
Yeah,
and
they've all come together, pitched in, but we don't know. It's also a little bit weird that, well, according to myth, there was no stories in the local papers or anywhere about this lady, who was apparently the first person in the UK to have been killed by a tiger.
Very strange.
Yeah.
It's really interesting though, isn't it?
We've had a change of scenery. We are in a little forest area nearby where we live.
Yeah, we've been hiking, so if we look a bit sweaty, that's why.
It's been a couple of days since we went to Malmesbury Abbey. and we've had some time to kind of reflect and think about everything, and obviously look through the pictures. Some of them have already been posted on Instagram. A big thank you to everyone that we met at Malmesbury Abbey. It was, I don't know, do you call them employees? I don't know if they're employed by the church.
I don't know, they might be volunteers.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, the staff there were really, really nice, really helpful, very welcoming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
so
lovely.
thank you guys.
For our favourite bits. Want to go first? I went first last time, so you go first this time.
Okay, I think my favourite part of the Abbey was not inside the Abbey itself, but was actually Hannah Twinoy's gravestone. Just because it was just so weird, and it's one of those things that unless you knew it was there, you wouldn't find it. Well, you probably wouldn't find it. It's like like an Easter egg on the grounds. It's well worth going to see because it's just so unique and has such a cool story behind it.
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? Because, as you said, it's just a gravestone. If you just walked past it, you just looked at... There are not very many gravestones over there, really. If you just looked at them as they were, you wouldn't necessarily have picked it out because it's not huge. You can't really, as you saw, you can't really read what it says. And it doesn't, I mean, I think unless you know the story, you wouldn't necessarily understand that she was killed by a tiger
Yeah,
at random.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my favourite part.
I'm kind of the same, to be fair. Between the gravestone and the story of the tiger and the human flight with Brother Elmer.
Oh, Brother Elmer.
Oh, Brother Elmer. A little rascal.
That's a good story. I like that one.
I just think, I mean, it sounds weird, isn't it? Because you'd think your favourite part of a church or an abbey would be something actually on the abbey. But for me, I think it's so important that there are these stories because it makes the place come alive to me. And you can, like, you imagine what has happened, and you can almost imagine the other monks and the abbot who stood there and be like,
What are you doing?
Brother Elmer, at it again, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just, yeah, I think that's really, yeah, that's what drew me. That's what drew me to Malmesbury Abbey in the beginning, because it was like, something's happened in this area. There's something going on there. Gotta go and see what that is.
Yeah.
Obviously, the abbey itself is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful inside and out.
It is, yeah.
And then there are these stories, which just makes it like so much more.
Yeah, it's the same for me. It's the stories there that really made it a cool experience going to see the abbey and walking around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had to choose something physical about the church, what do you think?
I thought the stained glass windows were really, really lovely. And I also liked the Bible, the four-part
Bible,
that they had
yeah.
there. That was really cool as well. It's not very often you get to see like old artifacts like that.
And that's another thing, isn't it? That it then says that the monks used to read out from these massive Bibles, and you can just imagine in your head all of these monks been sat at these long tables having their breakfast and dinner and lunch and all this, and then
Somebody stood over this massive Bible reading passages.
like Dumbledore stood behind his eagle thing, reading out to everybody else at Hogwarts, you know. I think for me, a physical thing is the actual entrance with the carvings above the door, and then you have them all along the ceilings and in the walls as you come in. It was just beautiful. I've no idea if there was any meaning to it, if there was anything specific on there. I haven't researched anything that like says that there is, but they were just gorgeous, and it does kind of make you feel like, oh, okay, we're walking into somewhere special here.
Yeah, exactly.
As a town, was also lovely. We spent a bit of time after we'd gone around into the abbey and the abbey grounds. We walked around for a bit. As you saw some of the footage, there's a little waterfall, probably human-made waterfall nonetheless. And it's really nice. There are these little like quiet places you can go, and you can't hear anything. There's no traffic, there's no nothing, you know. You just kind of...
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, for for a town that's so sort of compact, there are a lot of open spaces and a lot of kind of secret areas where you could go for a picnic if you wandered around. And behind the Abbey there's the Abbey House Gardens.
Yeah, I was just about to
Is it the
say
Abbey House Gardens?
that's worth mentioning. I've looked a bit. We didn't go. I've looked a bit in some pictures, and it's really lovely. It's really nice. And I think they had a little cafe, didn't they, where you can then go and you can buy a sandwich and a drink, and then you can just sit there, chill out for a bit.
Yeah, you could easily make a day of it
Yeah.
going to Malmesbury Abbey, easily.
And they do have like a proper town centre with, there's a pub and there's a cafe and there's
Yeah, some really nice old pubs there.
yeah, a couple shops and stuff. So you could, yeah.
We went into a cafe, didn't we? We had a coffee.
Yeah. So overall, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't quite decided yet where we're going to go next, but as you know, we have a list. And there's always new places getting added to this list. So we'll decide when we have some time off next.
Yeah. And keep an eye on our Instagram for updates. We'll probably be posting photos on Instagram first of the places that we visit, as kind of like teasers, I guess, for the next videos. So yeah, follow our Instagram, keep checking on there.
Yeah. And you'll know when we know. Thank you for watching once again. We love that you keep coming back. And as we said in the beginning, thank you so much for all of the support and all of the comments, both here on YouTube and on Instagram. And we hope you'll come back, wherever it is we end up going next.
We'll see you guys in the next video.
Ciao!
Bye.